Why we need the third conditional? When we talk about the possibilities and opportunities which are impossible to change anymore, as they are left behind in the past. An example. My parents wouldn't have divorced if they had talked about their problems, or vice versa. If my parents had talked about their problems, they wouldn't have divorced. But the reality is, they divorced. No way to change it. What I want my students to know before I teach them the third conditional. That the next verb after do, does, did, will, don't, doesn't, didn't, won't, always goes in its basic form. Like, I didn't sleep. Did you sleep? Will you sleep? I won't sleep, etc. Just basic form, like in a dictionary. It is the same with the modal verbs can, could, may, might, would. They are always followed by the basic forms. Like, I would sleep, I could sleep, I can sleep, I couldn't sleep, I wouldn't sleep, etc. The verb be, on the other hand, is always followed by the ending ing, like I'm sleeping, I was sleeping, I will be sleeping. Notice that in the last case, will is followed by be in its basic form, but be is already followed by ing form, ing form. Be aware that the verb be have a lot of forms. In present, am, is, are. In past, was, were. In future, just be in its basic form after will. The auxiliary verbs have and had are always followed by the third forms of the verbs, which don't differ from the second forms of verbs. In case of regular verbs like I have worked, I had worked, but can differ in case of irregular verbs like I have broken, I had eaten, I have written. Don't confuse the auxiliary verbs have and had with the verb have in the meaning to own. How we build a sentence. If is always followed by past perfect on the one side of a sentence, and would part goes on the other side of the sentence, or vice versa. Would as the first part of the sentence and if followed by past perfect on the other side of the sentence. That is the rule. We never use would after if, when, as long as, provided, assuming, etc. Moje examples. Keby to uvidel, neuveril by. This activity is still possible, so we use the second conditional. Keby som mal minulý rok dosť peňazí, bol by som navštívil svoju tetu v Austrálii. If I had had enough money last year, I would have visited my aunt in Australia. Last year, no way to change it anymore. Keby som bol ako chlapec o niečo nižší, mohol by som sa stať jazdcom na koni. If I had been a little shorter as a boy, I could have become a horse rider. No way to change it. Keby som ešte včera uvaril večeru, pozval by som ťa k sebe. If I had cooked dinner yesterday, I would have invited you to my place. Yesterday, no way to change it anymore. Bol by som rád, keby si prišiel včera, nie dnes. I'd have been happy if you had come yesterday, not today. Čo by ste si kúpili, keby ste pred 3 rokmi vyhrali v lotérii? What would you have bought if you had won a lottery 3 years ago? Čo by ste robili, keby bola ochorela na tej dovolenke? What would you have done if she had got ill on that holiday? Keby ste včera nepracovali tak rýchlo, neboli by ste urobili toľko chyb. If you hadn't worked so quickly yesterday, you wouldn't have done so many mistakes. Thank you. That's all.